welcome back to the Educated Ignorance Podcast right here on the For Frequency Sake Podcast Network. We are built by Durham Remodeling, colored by Ryan Allison Tattoo, and protected by Jared Zook Country Financial. Welcome in. It is night number 2, 3, 4, I guess 5 technically of the NBA playoffs. It is our third NBA postseason reaction. We have a lot to discuss. Another great night of basketball last night. Compelling games all over the place. Series are shifting. Tonight is the final night of game twos. We will be shifting venues after tonight. What a day. What a night tonight should be. Great weekend coming up. The next 4 days after today are loaded with huge game 3s and 4s, just jam-packed. So we are ready to duke it out. And of course, we are 26 and a half hours away from hold on, let me practice this. The Chicago Bears quarterback Caleb Williams. Did I say that good? Yes, we are on the verge of that happening. Speaking of housekeeping note, tomorrow night we will not have a show. Danny, though, will be on live. He will have some bets, some breakdowns for tomorrow night's games. The games tomorrow are huge. We will be back on Friday, same time, same place, to break down the games on Thursday. I will make sure, no matter what, I might be up really late Thursday night because we might have to watch some basketball on a rerun to make sure we are in a good spot to break stuff down. So Danny most likely will be live on tomorrow to break down the games from tonight and to potentially preview the game 3s that we have coming tomorrow. But I will be resting up because myself, DJ Doug, and all of our friends, we will be live at Kavanaugh's Hilltop in Rock Island for our third annual NFL Draft Show presented by Cut Above here on the podcast network. Come hang out with us if you can't listen, and if you can't listen or can't hang out with us, but make sure to tune in and hang out with us throughout the draft process. It'll be a fantastic night. It'll be a fun night. But mainly, if you can come, you better get there because we're going to have prizes to give away. We got a bunch of stuff. Channel 4 has donated some stuff. We got a grill we're giving away. We got a bunch of different things. So make sure you come hang out with us tomorrow night in Rock Island at Cabby's. So that'll be a doozy. Okay. Outside of that, we want to thank, of course, today's episode, as always, is powered by Outlier. Want better insight for all your bets? Outlier.bet is the app for you. Outlier.bet gives you the insight on props, spreads, totals, and even parlays for over 7 major sports. Outlier works with multiple sports books to show you the best odds available to help make you the most money possible. Try Outlier for free today with the link in our comments. And I have the link, Danny. If you need me to post it, just let me know. Producer Danny is back, ladies and gentlemen. We are here. He is wallowing in the Knicks' victory from the other night and hoping that his Thunder can do the same here this evening. I will go ahead and do this. Booda boom. Bada. Oh, never mind. He beat me to it. Okay, let's get after it. Okay, so last night we had 3 games. They were interesting and entertaining for different reasons. I have notes. I have stuff to get off my chest. Let's get into it. Let's start game number 2 in Minnesota, the Wolves and the Phoenix Suns. So that game last night, in my opinion, there was the stuff that went down last night. The things I was looking for going into game 2 was how there were multiple different routes where Phoenix, I thought, were going to have, how are they going to try to attack the Minnesota defense? Because the defense from Minnesota really weared out them in game number 1. And how would Minnesota, would Anthony Edwards be, continue to play that well on offense? Those were some of the different things I was trying to see how the game would be navigated. And there are a couple things that really stood out to me. So number 1 is for Minnesota that I thought in this game, the Wolves won, of course, as you can see, 105-93. Jaden McDaniels led the way, 25 points, 8 rebounds. He was spectacular. They won the game based on their effort and their tenacity. And the Suns it was a level of carelessness and laziness that really bugs me. And we'll get into more of that here in a moment. So, mainly the thing that impressed me the most from Minnesota was how all of their guys stepped up last night. You had Mike Conley, who played fantastic. He looked like it was 2011 and he was, balling against the Thunder in the early rounds of the playoffs back when he was in Memphis. He was sensational. Rudy Gobert, which we'll talk about more about him here in a moment. He was sensational. Jaden McDaniels, as we stated, 25 points, 8 rebounds, which is not something you can expect to get from him on a nightly basis by any means. But he was sensational last night, hitting 3-pointers. He was attacking. He was great. You had we talked about Gobert, who had 18 and 9. Conley had 18 and 4. Nickeil Alexander-Walker again was able to come in and make shots. Like the role guys for the Timberwolves yesterday were all sensational. And again, sometimes in these playoff games, you end up playing role player roulette. And yesterday, the Timberwolves, who have a really well put together roster, they absolutely dominated because, again, in a game against the Suns, who don't have a well put together roster. It's 3 guys who are all redundant, and the rest of it doesn't make sense. Grayson Allen can barely stay on the floor because of his ankle injury. Nurkic, they played him more minutes. He got rebounds, but still, it just wasn't like Minnesota's okay with them trying to throw the ball to Nurkic against Gobert. And listen, you can say I'm wrong on the Nurkic trade this season because all in all, I probably am. I thought it was a dumb idea at the time. It's been better than most people thought it would be. It's been better than I thought it would be. And what happened is, what's happened is Nurkic, last night, you go into a game like last night, and Nurkic, yes, he can score 10 points and 14 rebounds, but his overall input in a game like that, what's it really meaning? He's coming out to guard, he gets put in switches, and he's not fast enough, and he's put in foul trouble. It's just this roster for Phoenix, it just doesn't work. And there was a couple stats here that Danny's been rotating on the bottom that are really intriguing. And we talked about the hustle from the Timberwolves. Last night, they got, let me try to see here. I remember I saw they getting to loose balls last night. They were incredible. They were, the defense and the intensity. So they had 7 loose balls recovered. 41 of the 78 shots from Phoenix were contested. They had 20 deflections. There were times in that game where Phoenix, it looked like they were just off put looking at the Suns like mad, or the Phoenix was looking at the Timberwolves like mad that Minnesota was playing so hard. And this is the shit I can't stand about this. So the era that we have from 10 to 20 to pretty much now still, there's the separation of teams where you have the newer-ish version of teams. You can consider Denver in there. You can consider teams like Indiana and, Minnesota and Oklahoma City and some other teams in the East. You could consider Boston to a degree. There's some of these teams that'll just take nights off. Philadelphia is a team like that sometimes where it's just like, what are we doing? You never see Denver just give a game up. You'll never see this Minnesota team just give a game up. You never see Denver even in a game. Even though I might have mentioned them, like up 2-0. Game 3, they're even on the road. They're still going to go after it. There are so many teams in this league that just punt games. And last night, the Suns let go of the rope before Minnesota even went for a kill shot. Minnesota is a team that has not been here before against this Suns team that is allegedly this amazing super team with all these quote-unquote superstars. Listen, I love Booker, and Durant's amazing, and Beal has had moments. But these are the types of things that I knew with this trade when this team was initially put together, and it bugs the shit out of me that people fell for it again. Now, they can still win this series, and I almost picked them to win this series because I felt like it was a bad matchup. But I read something last night that was important, and it was beautiful. Let me try to pull this up, because goddamn, it encapsulates NBA playoff basketball. Look at this, man. McDaniels, when guarded by Durant, he went at him. And in game 1, Cat guarded Durant, and then Cat got in foul trouble last night. It was a terrible Karl Towns game. Karl Towns makes me want to peel my skin off. Uh, and McDaniels, you know, was in his pocket most of the night. Here is a perfect. I need to roll through and find this goddamn tweet. I really hope I don't screw this up because it's so good. I should have liked it, but all right, it is. I stole my saying from this guy. Sometimes I don't like his stuff because he's a little sassy, but sometimes he makes some stuff that's funny. Its name is Hardwood Paroxysm. I don't know how you pronounce it, but regardless, he tweeted out. Um, he tweeted out mentioning how Katie's small ball doesn't work against this team and Eubanks is unplayable. Both of those so far have been facts. It's a problem. And a guy asked him seriously, how did the Suns dominate them so badly during the season only to look like this? And this response encapsulates playoff basketball so well. He said, so in the regular season, you don't change your game plan. You don't change your rotations. You don't have time. You're just going from one game to another. The Suns' regular season baseline kills the Wolves' regular season baseline. This is not the regular season. And everybody and their fucking dad who fell for it in Brooklyn, who fell for it last year at the trade deadline with the Suns, and who fell for it when they traded for Bradley Beal, and just wanted to talk about these ancillary super teams. You can't do that shit anymore because the team has no identity and it doesn't make sense, and the rest of the team does not make sense. The Wolves through 2 games have absolutely obliterated Phoenix. And last night, they made a team with Hall of Famers on it, future Hall of Famers, first ballot, quit. They made the Suns quit. One of the 20 greatest players ever, Kevin Durant, they made him quit last night. And Jesus Louises, the Wolves have so much shit to their game. Their defense, their layers of defense, it's so impressive. And man, and the way they controlled that second half was so impressive. The Anthony Edwards aspect of it, I thought with what he did, even though he did not score a lot, I thought he was making right decisions. He was forcing action towards him, driving and kicking. I thought Edwards was superb, and it wasn't a game that he scored well in. So hopefully you get a game where he scores well in Phoenix, and that will be something that boosts. Now, there are things that I'm intrigued about going into game 3 and 4, and that is what is going to happen in these games in Phoenix. The Suns, you got to believe. Here's another note about last night, by the way, that I didn't even mention. We've talked about how physical these games have been. And last night in the first half, the Suns, the whistle the Suns got in the first half was mind-boggling. A road team in the playoffs. It's like Silver called it in like, yeah, bro, we've got the road teams have won like 30,000 straight games to start the playoffs. We're calling it in. We need a road team to win. And Minnesota was able to rally around that, and they finally and they in the second half blew their doors off. And the fact that the Suns just kind of keeled over like that is incredible to me because I would not be shocked if this came back 2-2. I really wouldn't, even though I just went on this tirade talking shit about the Suns. Because how do you expect Jaden McDaniels to have another game like this, especially in Phoenix? Like, will Mike Conley be able to put up some numbers slightly like this? Now, I expect Anthony Edwards will definitely bump his scoring up in games 3 and 4. Lydia said, hold on, I got to pull it back up here. Lydia mentioned how she thought that Edwards didn't score as much as she thought she would have. I thought last night, even though he didn't score, I thought he was perfect in how he operated. There are some moments where I wish he was a little more aggressive, but I thought he was controlling every aspect. He was controlling. That was chessboard-esque, like the type of next level stuff that you want to see from him. And usually guys don't, like, it took Jason Tatum to like 24, 25 to figure that out. And Edwards is 22, man. This dude's fucking special. Oh my God, he's so good. So the question is, in Phoenix, there's 2 ways now where this series is going to go over the next 2 games. Minnesota's role players will be very bad in Phoenix, and Gobert will struggle maybe a bit, and Karl Towns will Oh, he was bad last night. He really bugs me, guys. And Phoenix will just kind of, their offense will come alive and will come back 2-2. Or if in game 3 the Wolves stick their chest out, because through 2 games they are the alpha and the Suns are the beta, they can steal their soul in game 3. There's weird vibes with Phoenix at times. And last year, they could have gotten swept by Denver, but Durant and Booker had like a combined 180 points in 2 games in Phoenix to tie that series up. It might take those types of efforts again to get this series to even. I'm not saying it can't happen because those guys are incredible, but the question is, like, what route will it go? Game 3 is going to be very intriguing on Friday. Lastly, here quickly, the Rudy Gobert piece. He was incredible last night, and every one of us who ever doubted that trade owes the Wolves an apology. Just think of what they gave up in that trade. Now, listen, I understand that Walker Kessler has had his moments, and I understand that the future 2028 pick or whatever that they gave up, that guy who's like a sophomore in high school right now really might pan out for the Jazz in 5 years. The last night showed what Rudy Gobert and his unique set of skills and his defensive intelligence and prowess against a team that actually can guard, unlike those dudes in Utah who played Olay defense like Donovan Mitchell and Joe Ingles and Royce O'Neal and, you know, that cast of characters on the Jazz, who basically didn't care about playing wing defense, and then they didn't care because they had a fall guy. It's like, hey, we're getting burned up top and not guarding and basically being a revolving door, but it's okay. We're all just going to blame the 7'2" French guy because no one likes him. No, at the end of the day, Gobert is an all-world defender. He's one of the best guys in the league at it. And last night he had enough offensive game that it was like, holy shit, this is over the top. But his ability to cause havoc in multitudes of ways, be able to protect the rim, take 2, guard 2 with 1 in pick and rolls. If it should have been already by now because of the body of work from this season. But what Rudy Gobert did, especially last night, anyone who ever continues to try to who tries to vindicate that, or whoever tries to like downplay what the Wolves did there on that trade, did they overpay a bit? Yeah. But at the end of the day, they got a dude who's amazing and has a insane level of skill set, unique for what this team is built around. And last night he was superb. You could argue he was the best player in the game. He absolutely took everything away from Phoenix and was dominant. NBA player said Gobert is the most overrated player in the league. That is full. I mean, that's what they think, and I know that's a thing. But if I really had to pick a guy who's the most overrated player in the league, I don't know. It might be number 3 on Phoenix. Gave COVID. He did shut the whole league down in 2020. That's why people don't like him. All right, moving on. That was fun. Nice to get the blood boiling. All right, producer Danny. You texted me Sunday night with a clown emoji or a clown paint saying Pacers in 6. This is why you never count chickens after one game. Now, even I admit, after I said it yesterday, that if there was one game one that actually worried me, it was the Pacers game. But holy guacamole, did they flip that switch pretty quickly. Ladies and gentlemen, all right, I'm going to pull this down, and I'm going to bring everybody in for a second. Pacers won 125-103. They took a game that was tight for about a half, and then they 125-108, and then they absolutely bulldozed the Bucks in the second half. Come in here. When I talk about like levels of athletes and stuff, certain types and whatnot, I understand that when we're talking about the NBA, everyone's a good athlete. They're better than me, that's for sure. You can't get this fucking piece of paper under my feet when I jump. That's how unathletic I am. But I will say this. I watch basketball enough and I understand this sport to realize when one team is quick and fast and the other team is old and slow, that matchup is really bad for them. And I was very worried because the Pacers in game 1, as Lydia says in the comments, the Pacers did not come to play. They did not. They rolled out of bed like it was they with an October ass attitude, and they got punted. But yesterday they showed to me, it gave me faith on why I picked them, because at the end of the day there's a multitude of things. Number one, Milwaukee cannot hang with their speed. When Indiana flips the switch and they go, Milwaukee cannot play at the style. It's not just a pace thing. It's they don't have the twitchiness, they don't have the quickness, they don't have the ability to hang in that stratosphere that Indiana can. And I'm not saying Indiana is this team that could match up with everybody, because they're young and they have some flaws and they're not great on defense, but their style against what this Bucks team is, who is this Bucks team, this Bucks roster that has been horrifically constructed, absolutely it's one-way traffic. And what we saw in the second half was that. Milwaukee can't play with that. We also learned that without Giannis, they don't have a soul who can guard Pascal Siakam. More on him later. Pacers were, even though there's a stat there at the bottom talking about contested shots, the Pacers they are able to disrupt Milwaukee more. Milwaukee doesn't have the level of athletes to be able to get easy looks. Everything is tough. And no one shot good last night except for Brook Lopez, really, who hit 6 threes. And outside of that, everything was difficult. Middleton wasn't great. Bobby Portis had a bad game. You're rolling Pat Beverly out there for 34 minutes against this team. Like, no. And Tyrese Halliburton, there's still moments that bug me, but I thought yesterday, even though he was not aggressive at times, he did shoot more. And I thought he did a good job he was just dealing. That's what he was like. He was absolutely turning corners and working the ball around. Look at this stat. Siakam last night, guarded by Middleton, Portis, and Lopez, was 13 for 16. 5 assists. Like, that's insane. 29 points. That's just silly. That's just hilarious. Like, they have nobody that can cover him. Like, even if you put, like, you're going to put Brook Lopez on him. Cool. Good luck. Like, and if you're going to put Middleton or Portis on him, then he's going to back him down and he's going to get to his spots. The Damian Lillard stuff too has been really fascinating. I think he has combined like 81 points in the first half of these games and like 8 in the second halves of these games. Not good. I'm probably, what did he have last night? 34. So I'm overdoing it. It's not 81. He had 61 maybe, I think is the number. Not good so far. Not good from Dame. I think some of the stuff that I saw last night that is some of the stuff that last night that was impressive for me from Indiana. When it comes to imposing their style, like their full court pressing Milwaukee in the third quarter to get them out of a rhythm. And they forced a inbound violation and a half court violation. They were just continuously like taking the ball out of the rim and pushing the pace. The ball is zipping around. They're attacking the Milwaukee drop coverage. It's a bad matchup, man. It's a terrible matchup. And Giannis, if he comes back, fixes it for this series to a degree. But there's still a lot of stuff that makes you feel like Indiana. It's just a bad matchup at the end of the day. Maybe if Halliburton can somehow find himself when they go to Indiana, then Jesus Louise, it's going to be. I mean, I don't know the path, and I'm not trying to overreact. I didn't overreact in a sense in one game, and I'm not going to try to overreact to this one, but last night was so vindicating on what I thought the matchup would be. And Indiana, just their level of give a shit in game one, they were like, they had to learn in game one what the playoffs were like. And then yesterday they came out and they dominated. Lydia asking, how do you think the Bucks would have done with Giannis? I think that Giannis being out there, because without him, they don't have anybody that can attack the paint. They don't have anybody that can score in the paint. They don't have anybody that can guard Siakam. So he would be like a fully healthy Giannis. Like at the end of the day, this Bucks team is at worst a top 3 team, like legitimately in the East, and one of the 6 teams you'd probably think that could win it all, maybe. But then when you also like when you add that into the fact of like at the end of the day, the Bucks are who they are. They were in their last now in regular season and playoffs in their last 43 games, they're 21-22. And at the end of the day, you just are who you are. This team has been mediocre as shit for 3 months. And Dame went nuts in the first half of game 1. And we'll see. The games in Indiana are going to be fascinating. And I think that it could be a whirlwind. It could be a problem for Milwaukee. If it comes back 3-1, I will not be shocked whatsoever. I think that's what's going to happen. Lastly, here, the Siakam trade. People were doubting, like when someone would say like why he makes all NBA, and people were thinking it was a bad move to put him on all NBA, or people would be ranking him in the top 20 and be like, wow, Siakam feels like a one of these things doesn't belong here type of situation. But seeing him put on this team, a team in the playoffs that makes sense, a roster that makes sense, it's a nice reminder that Pascal Siakam's awesome. Like he's really, really good. But he was trapped on this Raptors team that basically had nothing but 6'5" and 6'5", 6'6", 6'7" wings that couldn't shoot and couldn't space the floor, and Gary Trent the last 2 years. Like that was the Raptors roster. Masai Ujiri is a war criminal, like borderline. I'm just gonna like that's where we're at. If you're a Raptors fan, I'm sorry. Like at least you'll never have the 2019 championship taken away from you. And I enjoyed the shit out of that because I loved Kawhi and I love Kyle Lowry. But at the end of the day, what Masai Ujiri has done since then has been I don't know what he's doing. Let's just put it that way. OG Anunoby thriving on a team that makes sense and is put together. Pascal Siakam looking like not a superstar, but like superstar adjacent, like one of the 25 easily best players in the league over here so far in the play. Like he's been, you could argue through 2 games of the playoffs, the only guy better than him is Luka. Like God, like who else has been through the 2 games been better than him? Yeah, it's fun to see Siakam on a team that makes sense. 31 for 48 from the floor, 36.5 points, 12 boards, 4 assists, a steal, and a block and a half. He's really good. Really good. And like the stuff that he's done, like goodness gracious, he's been so impressive. This getting to his spots and man, like the way he's getting, like I said, getting to his spots and his shooting and his way he attacks closeouts. It's just great to see him, a very good player, on a team that just makes a whole lot of sense at the end of the day. Siakam 37, 11, and 6 last night. 125-108 win over the Bucks. All right. Passionate today. I got my producer back. We're excited. Whew. All right. This game was fun. Clippers, Mavs. We have, listen, with this series, with the Knicks series, with the Minnesota Timberwolves, like we're being just reminded of what the 1990s were. And you know what? Hey, listen, it's like, imagine if there were like 50 good players in the NBA in 1997. Like that's what we're doing right now. There's somebody who's like 38 who's going to hear me say that, and they're going to like try to find my house and murder me. So if I get OJ Simpson in the next 72 hours, it was by one of those people. Or I guess I wouldn't be OJ Simpson. I'd be getting like Ron Goldman. Shout out. Yeah. They it's Doug. Yeah, Doug's gonna be furious. Danny's hilarious. All right. 96-93 win for the Mavs. Luka was incredible. There were times last night where it felt like the Mavs were playing 2-on-5, and it did not matter because their two are great. The Kyrie Irving stuff, like, I cannot. Speaking of just being happy, like, for Pascal Siakam being on a team that makes sense and that is fun, it's just great to see Kyrie Irving playing meaningful basketball and, like, being a normal human. He's been great. He brings so much to this team. His style, his ability, his shot making, and then you have Luka, who you can right now argue is the second best player alive. His consistency is borderline unmatched, and he didn't even shoot well last night, but he was awesome, and he scored less than he was in game one, and he was 30 times better. Here's the craziest and most hilarious stat I've ever seen in my life. And I don't know if it means a lot because but he did listen. There's some of these possessions that were big. But last night, the Clippers were 2 for 17 with Luka Doncic as their primary defender. Harden was 1 for 5. Terrence Mann, Norman Powell, Kawhi Leonard, and Mason Plumlee, Russell Westbrook, Ivica Zubac, all 0 for. They were a combined 0 for 8, 10. And then Amir Coffey was 1 for 1. Hilarious. Luka was guarding really well. He guarded Kawhi Leonard like a maniac. And listen, I thought that he didn't just do it on the offensive end. He rebounded. He was helping on defense in certain ways. He was stunting. He was like, there's what they did defensively against Zubac after, listen, Zubac, thing we didn't mention the other day was talking about how Zubac this season was one of the most efficient post-up players in the NBA, and they went right at Dallas in game one. And in this game, they basically kind of just went small, but what they did was they attacked Zubac when he would catch the ball in the post with length and with length, but with like athleticism and quickness. And Zubac really struggled, even though he did score he scored 13 points at 12 rebounds, but he was nowhere near as efficient. And the defense from the Mavericks caused some problems. Kawhi was back, which, listen, hand to God, you folks know last week when we did our playoff predictions for round one, I said I didn't think Kawhi Leonard would play a single solitary second of this series, and he was back in game two, so it shows how much I know. I'm not wavering from my pick, though. Do I think it'll be more than 5 games? Maybe. Clippers lost one game one last year and then got gentlemen swept, so I don't know. But the lineups for the Clippers, to me, are what are very, very unsettling. I think the best lineups for the Clippers involve Russell Westbrook on the floor, but there is a massive catch-22 to that. So if you're just box score watching, what's the biggest thing in this game that checks like the first thing that you'll notice compared to game one? The Mavs shot 14 of 33 from 3, and the Clippers shot 8 for 30. Compared to at one point in game one, the Clippers were out shooting the Mavs from 3 like 15-2. 3-point shooting matters. Weird. I know. I can't believe it either. So when that isn't insanely one-sided, combined with the fact that the Mavericks were very, very off in the first half of game one, you know, that leads to where we got to last night. And this is what I mean by the catch-22 with Westbrook. Clearly the best versions of the Clippers lineups involve Westbrook on the floor because he's going to at least make it a bit harder for for Doncic to be involved because he's going to just not care and just be in him for the entire 94 feet and just kind of make him work a little bit harder. He's a maniac on the glass. He's flying around. He's had a great year. The catch-22 to that is you're either taking Terrence Mann off the floor, going insanely small, which is what the Mavs are trying to make you do, or with Westbrook out there, still is a guy that you do not have to worry about shooting threes. You can come off of him. You can clog the lane up, and that's where the Clippers offense just gets very stagnant, just very stagnant. And that is something that I'm going to definitely be charting and noting throughout the series is these certain lineups that the Clippers might try to throw out there. There's points in these games where, yes, the Clippers offense, the ball is zipping around. It goes from point A to B to C, back to A, swings it to B, who then throws a skip pass to D who's open for a three and he nails it. But there are also times where it was last night where they dribble it up. And it's like, all right, Kawhi, your turn. And he takes a shot and he misses. All right, Paul George, your turn. He takes a shot and he misses. All right, back to you, Kawhi. Swing it to Harden. Try to create with 10 on the clock. He misses. All right, let's give it to a drive. Let's get it to Westbrook. Let him attack a closeout and try to dump it off. Last second. You know, it's a lot of your turn, my turn, this guy's turn, our turn. It is not. There are two different styles of the Clippers offense. It's what we saw in game one, though normally it's not that effective from three compared to, at least in a fifth. They outscored the Mavs from three in game one by a billion. So, like, you know, why were the Mavs down by 30 at half? Like, that's why. But you have that version versus the version where it's just, you know, Bill Simmons compared it to the toilet clogged offense. I don't exactly know what he means by that, but what I can tell is it's a lot of standing around. It's a lot of everything is clogged up because if you've got Westbrook out there, if you've got Man out there, the Mavs are just going to dare them to be the guys that are going to shoot, and they're going to clog the lane up with certain defenders. Clearly, the matchups for the Mavs offense have been so far their team. Their best lineups have been Kleba on, and they need to have Gafford and Lively as well as Dwight Powell off. In this series so far, Dallas is a plus 24 when Gafford, Lively, and Powell are off the floor. So that is impressive. It's going to be, you know, Kleber hit a huge shot late. Obviously, Luka was able to close it down. I thought, even though there were long stretches where it was nobody other than Kyrie or Luka, I thought PJ Washington actually had a really good game. He had some huge shots in that. He had a little floater early in the fourth. He had 2 threes late in the fourth. And then Kleba obviously hit that three that kind of kept them above water when the Clippers cut it to 3. Kleba hits it to make it 6. Then the Mavs go up after pretty much ice it with the Luka shot. So, yeah, very impressive stuff from Dallas last night to get it to a 1-1 series, and they play on Friday in Dallas. Man, going to be interesting to see how the Clippers respond. How will Kawhi look? I thought he was okay last night, but you can tell that he just does not have lift at the moment, and that's a struggle. So, all right, we will take a quick break. We'll come back. We will break down the 2 games for tonight. If I can find my Jesus Christ. There we go. All right, quick break. We'll come back. Preview tonight's games next on the For Frequency's Sake Podcast Network.
Football season may be over, but For Frequency's Sake still has you covered for all your sporting needs. Tune in every Sunday when the best professional wrestling podcast around, Cards Subject to Change, gets you caught up on everything inside the ropes. They won't miss a count with weekly analysis and interviews. More into auto racing? We've got a double dose for you on the track. Tune in to Fast Money with Rod Villagomez each week and win some money with the quickest bets in all of sports. Want more insight from Pit Row? Check out the Green, White, and Checkered podcast where they give their insight on everything happening on and off the track. Need your basketball fix? Points in the Paint has you covered with live shows every other week looking at everything in the association. Backed by popular demand, we have the return of The Payoff Pitch, FFSQC's baseball show, covering you on news around the MLB. If you're missing football, don't fret. Mark and Dan still have you covered in the football lounge. Missing Joe Winkle? Probably not, but he's still here talking sports on Educated Ignorance. Football season might be over, but we've still got you covered. For frequency's sake, you know what we mean.
For Frequency's Sake is brought to you by Durham Remodeling, serving the Quad City area's remodeling and repair needs since 1973. Clint's Draft House, grab a bite and a pint. 7th Street, Moline. Lopez, New York-style pizza served up by the slice or pie, Davenport. Lifted Energy, energy drinks, coffee, donuts, and more. #GetLifted. Atomic Sports Cards and Collectibles. Sports cards and memorabilia, vintage clothing, hats, pennants, and more. Ryan Allison Tattoo. Step into the vibrant world of tattoos with Ryan Allison. And A Cut Above, offering quality custom woodwork, designed specifically around our customers.
Back here for Frequency Sake Podcast Network. It is Game 2 previews time. We're going to go through these pretty quick. We've got first Heat Celtics Game 2. I mean, listen, how much can you break down a game where the spread is 14.5 points? At the end of the day, here's what I want to see from Boston. I want to see them keep their foot on the gas. And I want to see Tatum. I think what he does, when he is really dialed in, you see him kind of start in the mid-range, and then gets that going, and then from there he'll back it out to three, and then everything else in their offense kind of clicks and follows from there. I want to see that aspect of his game. Like, he was amazing. I think he had a triple double, or he had a borderline triple double in Game 1. I think he had an actual triple double. What did he finish with? Yeah, triple double, 23, 10, and 10. So yeah, he was awesome. Want to see him have, that level of impact in the game, because I think when they do that, like, no, not many teams have an answer. In that game from three, they shot 22 of 49. Like, that's what they do. That ball starts zipping around, and it's hard for teams to kind of stay intact. I loved what Porzingis gave them, and they were able to get really good minutes from Hauser and Pritchard in Game 1. And if you can do that early in these series for Boston, listen, we know with Boston right now, it's barring catastrophic moments or injury luck. We are just delaying the inevitable, like, get to the conference finals, let that begin, and then the season really starts for Boston. So the longer you can go in these playoffs where you get legitimate minutes from guys like Hauser and Pritchard, and they're contributing on the offensive end, then that's big to allow some easier nights for Brown, White, and Tatum and such. The other game tonight, which is much more fascinating, though, I think that line is ridiculous, but regardless, we're not here to talk about that yet. Pelicans Thunder. So what I'm looking for in that game tonight, which was impressive in Game 1, was the defensive attention to detail. I thought what the Thunder were able to do and how they were able to kind of latch onto the Pelicans and their style, and how well Dort covered Ingram, and how they had multiple guys guarding CJ, and how they were able to do that. And then on the other end, how Herb Jones was mainly the guy guarding Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, but they also had Trey Murphy get run at him, and they would shade guys to his side to really make him struggle. I'm interested to see how both teams navigate that, especially Oklahoma City, with knowing what they want to do with Shai as their kind of main ball handler and kind of distributing and going to work from there. The game kind of swung when Jalen Williams got going in the third quarter, and it gave Oklahoma City a bit of a cushion. Obviously, they had to kind of rally late there after they had a stretch without offense late in the fourth. But the game, they got some cushion when Jalen Williams was able to attack and get going. Would love to see that again. There's a stat for you. When Luka Dort is guarding Pelicans in Game 1, the Pelicans were 2 for 13 with 7 points. So he was awesome. Like he's just a guy that is so aggressive, all defensive level player. Love to see him out there. Love his aggression. We'll think this is a very big Jalen Williams level series because of all the attention that they're probably going to give to Shai. There's going to be moments for him to kind of be able to catch, attack closeouts, and do work from there. And then I'm interested to see, listen, in the closing stretch of the game, the Pelicans went away from Jonas Valanciunas. They played Larry Nance, who's been good. Larry Nance has been really good for them over the last month or so. But if you take Valanciunas off the floor, like, he's just not like they just aren't the offensive rebounding second chance point threat that they are with Valanciunas on the floor. So if the Thunder can find a way, if Chet can really make him work, or whoever's in the game, and it kind of forces Valanciunas off, and they have to play Nance more than they want to, maybe a little bit, that's something I'm looking for too. You already kind of saw in Game 1, it looked like that this is going to be a tough series for someone like a Jose Alvarado. He wasn't great in Game 1. I don't think he has the style or the juice. Najee Marshall as well. Dyson Daniels, clearly they barely went to him in Game 1. And for the Thunder, Mr. Dagnall, however you pronounce your name. We can give up the Gordon Hayward minutes. It's okay. He doesn't have to play. If he doesn't play, it's fine. No one's going to be mad. I certainly won't be. The Isaiah Joe minutes, I'll live with. Aaron Wiggins, sure. Cason Wallace, abso-fucking-lutely. He's their sixth man, basically. The other Jalen Williams, I'm okay with. Kenrich Williams, even, in spurts. But the Gordon Hayward minutes, we don't need them. We just don't need them. We just don't need them. Don't disrespect Joe and Wiggins. I'm not, Danny. I'm just saying, I thought there were moments in game one where Dagnall had a regular season rotation. And in the first half especially, I was like, why is every possession ending with Isaiah Joe making a decision? That was the first half. In the second half, it was all Shea and J-Dub, which made me happy. All right. Let's quickly thank our betting partners, Beat the Book. You want a space where you can interact with pro bettors? Beat the Book is the app for you. Beat the Book is a social media betting app where you can follow your favorite cappers and get all of their plays set directly to your phone. Download Beat the Book today and follow us at the link in the comments. Producer Danny, I believe, will give us that link in the comments as we bring him in, and we are here to hang out and join life together and interject our feelings and whatnot, as we will bring you the best picks for tonight, if there are any. My friend, how are you?
I'm good. Yeah, I mean, my Thunder's gonna win tonight. We're gonna go 2-0. New York's gonna go 3-0 on Friday. So it's gonna be a great weekend. It's funny, I was telling you before. There was like 4 or 5 teams after the first month of the season. I just decided, I was like, you know what, I'm staying away from as player props unless there's something I absolutely love. 4 of those teams are playing tonight. So this was a very hard game for me to pick some stuff, but I do have one play, and I'll give a free VIP play just because we've been on a hot streak that I absolutely love tonight. But yeah, I'm excited.
Okay, yeah, the Celtics Heat game does not tickle my fancy at all, but I have a show that I'm doing at 7, so by the time I get done with that, it will be tip-off for Pelicans Thunder, and I will be a happy boy. So we'll be ready to rock. I must ask, is it just fan confidence saying you think the Knicks are going to win tomorrow? Or do you actually
No,
think
I genuinely think if they don't win I think if they split, then they're gonna win in game 5.
Okay.
Just because like there's a subtle little sign that someone noticed on Twitter with Joel Embiid. When he shot a free throw at the end of that game, he went to blink and his left eye didn't move. They're shooting that man so far in with painkillers, he can't blink. Like,
yeah, I don't know what that was about.
Yeah, like I saw him blink and the other eye didn't even flinch. So like the big thing that I've noticed in every single loss the Sixers have had this year is Oubre, Harris, Batum, Paul Reed, all their role players and their third, fourth options were not scoring and were not playing well. And I think that's what the big problem is going to be is, the Knicks can live with Maxey and Embiid putting up 65, 70 points combined. But they have such a good defensive presence that they can shut down Oubre. They can shut down Tobias Harris. They can shut down these players that are going to force Embiid to play into the double team, to force Maxey to pull up from 10 feet behind the 3-point line and hope he makes the shots. Mm-hmm. And then you got to rely on them to be ready every night. And that's genuinely why I think the Knicks win the series. I think the Knicks, like I'm looking at it, if they get past Philly, I don't care who they play, whether it's Milwaukee or Indiana. I think they have a legitimate shot to make the conference finals this year.
Yeah, I picked them to beat the Sixers, and I think I picked them to make the conference finals. And
they didn't do bad against the Celtics either. That's going to be a great series.
It'd be fun. It's the one team I think that can actually give Boston. Mm-hmm. I told you on our show last Friday that I think Boston's going to mop the first 2 rounds, and I think New York will make them sweat a bit. Lydia's saying that the Celtics are minus 1,400 right now. Tonight.
Mr. Locke over there with Mr. Bo Nickel minus 3,000.
I mean, it's a lock. I went 8-3. I'm just saying. Better than that one guy. Anywho, listen, man, when you gotta pick Cody Garbrandt, you just gotta let that fly over it sometimes when you gotta tell the world. I'm being a dick, but whatever. So no, we'll see. Tomorrow will be fun. And then Friday, I'm either gonna be like, yep, that series clearly is over, it's 3-0, or I'm gonna be like Sunday at 12 Central, 1 Eastern, Knicks Sixers. Have your fucking waffles, your popcorn, your chicken, your whatever it is. Be ready, because that will be war. So tonight, what is the lock of the week or lock of the day? Jesus, I keep saying lock of the week. Lock of the day is what, 8 out of its last 9? We're on fire.
9, and the 9th one that lost was
Diamondbacks on Saturday.
Yeah, the Diamondbacks on Saturday in a game where they just couldn't get a hit going.
I know that specifically because I went out of my way to check the score to see it when I saw it on Twitter, and then I saw they lost. I was like, that's unfortunate. So what are the free VIP plays tonight?
So our free VIP play of the day, as you know, this whole year I have been about the double-double.
Mm-hmm.
In our own private little Slack chat, we've hit like a couple plus 1,000 parlays. I'm taking a player who I do not understand why. I think the only reason I think his line is this low is because it has the potential to be a blowout game, and that's Jason Tatum to get a double-double. It was a VIP play we put out at +1. It's at +105. We caught it at +110. Tatum is. I'm going to pull up the stat here while I find it. Tatum got 10 rebounds the other night. He has gotten 10 or more rebounds, and if I remember off the top of my head, it was like 5. Like he's gotten it in 10 of his last 15 against Philly. In the playoffs, he's hit this line in 6. He's hit 10 or more in 6 of his last 8, or not Philly, against Miami, and in his last 15 playoff games, or in all of his playoff games, all 24, he has only missed this line 5 times. I'm sorry, 6 times. And so he's went 10 or more in 18 of his 24 games in the playoffs in his career, in his last 24 playoff games in his career, dating back to end of last year. Tatum plays a lot more aggressive down low. We see it. He doesn't settle for jump shots as much. He likes to get to the paint, drive on you, and force fouls. He likes to get down low and get his own rebounds. This is a team where Bam Adebayo is probably not going to be crashing the boards as hard because he's going to have such a big offensive load. Every projection I see has him around 7.5, and I think that's mainly because of the potential of a blowout. But I don't really see a way he doesn't come out of here with 10 rebounds. I mean, he crashes the glass hard enough. They're going to play. If this game even gets to like a clear blowout, he's still going to play into the fourth quarter because that's just how Joe Mazzulla has run this team. And they don't want to get to a point where they're just no one's conditioned. No one's ready to play in the fourth. So, and as we've seen a lot of these blowout games, these teams kind of take a back seat in the third quarter and it gets close again. Like every blowout game we've seen has gotten close by the third quarter. So
yeah, it's those fake runs. It's those fake runs that, because at the end of the day, when you're up 30, you're not going to play as hard as you were to get up 30.
No, exactly. And then in a playoff game, that team's getting the talk in the locker room about like, if you guys aren't going, then there's a problem. And it goes from there. So I just absolutely love the spot for Tatum. I'm taking him. Our lock of the day is him over 8.5 rebounds. That's -130 on Fanatics. I want to say it's other books. It's like -131 last I checked on FanDuel. DraftKings had it at -120, but I had already put too much money into DraftKings today. I didn't want to put more. But like I said, this is a great spot for Tatum. This is a good spot because he's getting guarded by Caleb Martin. You know, if Butler's in, he's getting Butler, or Bam's on him, Butler's on Jaylen Brown. He's getting Caleb Martin today. Caleb Martin has been giving up about 8.5 rebounds per game when the player's being matched up against him one-on-one this year. So I like this spot here. I think this is a perfect spot for him. We do have one more play. It's a little bit of a builder. I used a boost on MGM to get this around plus 100. I think the line's definitely dropped by now. But you could get Bam Adebayo 15 points and Porzingis 20-plus points and rebounds. I got it at minus 140. I'm looking at it now. It's around minus 175 right now, and you can get it boosted all the way down to like minus 130 on MGM or Fanatics, or if you have a boost laying around on DraftKings or FanDuel.
There you go. So Bam 15 or more points,
and Porzingis 20-plus point rebound combination.
And that both clear easily in game one.
And they'll definitely clear easy tonight. At like my main point for this one, and if you want to sprinkle a little on Bam's over on points, I would highly take that. I think I actually put it in a banner down here. Oh, it's gone. So Bam was 8 for 10 for 20 points when he was guarded by Porzingis in game one. He's obviously going to get the Porzingis matchup. They're not going to put Horford on him. They're not going to put Tatum on him because they don't want to risk foul trouble. This is going to be Bam versus Porzingis. Porzingis is just kind of waiting for the shot to go up. And with the game, him mainly getting the matchup when it was kind of a blowout, he wasn't really playing defense. So this is a good spot for Bam to go off again. I don't trust Tyler Hero, and I think Spoelstra's not going to trust him either. And they're going to make sure that Bam Adebayo is the center point in this game.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see. Like, those are some definitely things. I like that second one, the Bam and the Porzingis one, definitely, and Tatum. If the game goes how I think it will, which we all do, no reason to believe that the double-double shouldn't. Okay. So, we finally saw two road teams win last night. The 2-1-8 games tonight, so the 2-1, any road team tonight would be a little shocking, though I think New Orleans could, but what are the odds you're going to get the Thunder to play that bad again? But again, the Pelicans are really good, especially away from home, so that game will be fun. That game will be appointment TV. That series is awesome. I can't wait to get back. I can't wait to get home tonight to watch that. Other than that, Danny, we did good. Show tomorrow, maybe. You, maybe.
Possibly.
In 45 seconds or less, give me the thing that you are most excited about for the draft on Thursday.
Seeing them talk about how the Panthers gave up this pick, and then seeing the Justin Fields, Caleb Williams comparisons consistently.
There you go.
Side note, I don't know if you saw that thing I posted in the chat about you could get the Bears to miss the playoffs at minus 110 right now. They have them at pick'em odds to make or miss the playoffs. And I think that's kind of crazy because I think that might be a little overhyped.
Well, seven win roster 7-win team that upgraded at quarterback, got another good receiver, brought their I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how tomorrow goes. If they get Caleb and another one of those receivers, then I don't know.
I just think
they're going to be in the graphic all season. They're going to be in the playoff graphic.
I think.
Well, if they make it or
with
not,
the way the Lions taking over that division, I don't see them winning that. I don't see them winning the North. And
yeah, neither do I. I think the Lions are the best team in the
NFC East and the NFC West is just too strong every year. Like I just don't see a playoff spot for them. I think the Falcons and the Bucks somehow sneak one in.
Yeah, we'll see. I it's not a bad bet because like you're getting at pick 'em odds if you got whatever you think's going to happen. I won't be shocked either way if they make it or miss it. Like it's not going to move me. Playoffs as a Bears fan, playoffs is not what I'm looking for next year. If they go 9-8 and miss the playoffs by a game or a tiebreaker, but Caleb Williams literally rewrites the Bears quarterback record books and they're set up for it looks like a decade and a half, I'm not going to be worried about it.
I hope they don't make the playoffs just because if they do, imagine all the talk about the Panthers had the first overall pick and picked Bryce Young, or if they didn't go for either Bryce Young or CJ Stroud, they would have had the first pick and they would have got Caleb Williams. And then we hear that consistently.
I mean, it's on track to be one of the most lopsided trades in our lifetime.
Oh, it's horrible. Well, I've told you before, like if they gave Bryce Young someone other than a middle-aged Adam Thielen and a better, if they had kept Steve Wilkes, I think it would have been a little bit different.
I think Bryce Young's good, or he has the potential to be good.
I said all season, if Steve Wilkes was still the coach, I don't think they would have made the playoffs, but they would have won at least 4 games. They wouldn't have been the worst team in the NFL
by like a game and a half. Yeah, you're probably right. All right. I got to get out of here. Danny, thanks as always, my friend. It was good to have you back, buddy.
Blame the dog.
I know. We'll be back Friday together.
Definitely Friday, yeah.
All right, we'll be back together Friday to break down loaded weekend. Hopefully the games tonight and tomorrow deliver big time. Check our socials to see if we will be live tomorrow. It will not be me, but we will be live. Remember, draft show tomorrow night at Kavanaugh's. I cannot stress you enough. If you're in the Quad Cities, don't be a fucking bum. Come hang out with us at Kavanaugh's. We've got prizes. We're going to give away a fucking like $1,000 grill, I think, or something like that. So come down. We got a bunch of other prizes we're giving away. Come hang out with us. They got great food, great beverages. It'll be an awesome, awesome time. NFL Draft Show, our 3rd annual. Be there or be a 4-sided shape. Danny lives in New York, so he cannot be there. So he's cool regardless. For producer Danny, I'm Joe the Show Eagle. This has been the Educated Ignorance Podcast on the For Frequency Sake Podcast Network. We'll see you guys next time. If you ain't got your game, you best pass the sticks. We'll see y'all tomorrow night for the draft show from Kavanaugh's. Until then, thank you all for hanging out with us. Enjoy the games tonight. We are out. Peace.